Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Thursday, April 6th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown, so if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple of quick clarifications. Number one, the price you see right there will be changing, and then the candlestick you see right there will be moving around and changing. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time, but I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And then second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes of time. So first stock here, IFRX, and this thing made a monster move today and has now formed a very, very nice pattern. And the nice thing about patterns like this is that when a lot of people are watching the same pattern and wondering the same things, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So let's get this pattern here into play. So first part of the pattern is going to be this resistance area. So you got to think that a lot of people have drawn that trend line like so, and then the bottom part of the pattern, this area down there, and let me change just to green to represent more so the bullish part of the pattern. So green for support there, and then maybe make it a little bit easier visually. Let's make it one color. So we have our resistance, we have our support, we have the huge explosion right there, and then for you golfers out there, let's make it more visual. We'll put our golf hole down here. So this would be known as a bull pennant pattern. So while nothing is guaranteed, is it plausible? Is it valid? Once more, even if you just want to call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, that if the price comes up to this top part of the pattern and then gets a break, that break could create just that much more buying pressure. That's certainly a plausible outcome. Again, not guaranteed, but more than rational to think that way. So if you like to play stocks down below $10, you like bull pennant patterns, definitely keep an eye on it. Next one here, JWEL, same general idea that I just talked about, a well-defined pattern. The biggest difference here really just being the price range. So this is for those of you that like penny stocks. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time explaining things again because you just heard me say it. But again, call it those self-fulfilling prophecies, call it whatever you want. They can definitely create some good solid movements here. So let me change that to green, represent that area of support. And then once more, we'll get it all drawn in one color. So resistance, support, big upwards move there, golf hole down here. So again, another bull pennant pattern. As I mentioned, the biggest difference just being penny stocks. So if you only like to play penny stocks, but you do like bull pennant patterns, definitely keep an eye on it. Next one, PLTR, absolutely nasty move today. This is what we would call a gap and trap. Price closed there on Tuesday, opened up right there, hence the gap up. And then after the gap up, just essentially straight down. But what makes this now interesting is that after this huge movement down, the price has now started to go sideways, and not even go sideways. There is actually a little bit of an uptrend line here, which brings about the question, okay, is this, was this move here kind of overdone? Was it just more so panic than any sort of justification behind it? Now, let me be very clear, there's no guarantee. So there could have very well been a whole lot of justification, and this thing's getting ready to go on another, big move to the downside. That's always possible, but that's why risk management and discipline matters. But at this point, does it become valid to think, okay, maybe just maybe because of the nature here, once again, the sideways movement with a little bit of an uptrend, is it plausible to think that or maybe this thing was just overdone and now it's looking like a bigger bounce could happen? Yeah, absolutely. So moving forward here, key level of support that I would say certainly needs to hold is down there around that $7.90 mark. And if this upwards bounce is going to continue, two main battlegrounds. The first main one that you got to think most people are watching is that very well-known, very famous pink line there, which is on my chart denoting the 200-period moving average, currently valued at $8.18. So keep an eye on that if that continues to bounce. But if the price can get up there and push even through then at that point, things get that much more interesting because now you can start to have a discussion of, okay, maybe this isn't even a dead cat bounce. Maybe there's genuine power behind it. But one hurdle at a time. Let's see if the price can get even up to that area. But certainly a relatively popular stock, now behaving like maybe this earlier part of the day was just a little bit of overblown panic, but we'll see what happens on Thursday. Next one, BOIL, and this will mean a little bit more to those that have watched past videos, but if you have, then you hopefully remember me talking about how, hey, last time the price was down around this green line, a nice bounce happened, so, worth keeping an eye on. And once again, price came down here several times and then got the nice bounce here with the gap up. Sure, it pulled back some, but overall, to those of you that, were monitoring that, congratulations. I am going to go ahead and adjust this level down now that we have more data. It seems as though the new kind of overall point right down there about $3.24. So keep an eye on that if the price does come back down there, because if it does, then you have a case of deja vu again, where nothing's guaranteed. It becomes, smart to say, oh, okay, is it going going to bounce now for a third time. So keep an eye on that if it comes back down. But if this upwards move is going to continue, the main battleground that I think a lot of people will be watching just because of the simplicity of this trend line, so therefore potential, self-fulfilling prophecies, is that level right there, which puts the breakout point right up there around $3.52, give or take a little bit. But if the price can get up to that trend line and get a push up through it, then at that point, you could see, that much more momentum coming in. But as of right now, 324 main area of support, and that trend line right there being the main area of resistance. Next one here, AMC, and not a whole lot to update as far as technical levels compared to yesterday's video. That area up there at $4.10, the red line, which I talked about on Tuesday, still remains that main area of resistance. But the thing that I want to mainly point out is that, as of now, it's looking like the bleeding has stopped, right? Because going into today, it was a very valid question of, is this thing just going to keep bleeding and bleeding? Is the panic just going to, remain, if not even get stronger? And as of now, it doesn't seem so, because there was a bit of a gap up and nothing, major, but at least the price has gone sideways and even put in a higher base. Now, again, I wish I could say trading was this easy. I wish I could say that because the second day has now been sideways, this is for sure the bottom, and the price is for sure going to bounce. If only it were that easy. But does it become a little bit more plausible to think that maybe some sort of bottom is in? Yes, it becomes more plausible, but again, that's why risk management matters, because there are no guarantees. So as far as supports, very straightforward. Okay, well, if this is the bottom, well, then by definition, the bottom being down there at where it stopped going down at 388, then you're going to want to see that continue to hold. But if this bounce is going to get any sort of more momentum, then it remains all about that red line there at $4.10. So keep an eye on it. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online class that I am offering on Thursday. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency, to manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live online class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link in the description box. If you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage that you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then I definitely want you to get signed up for the free live online class. Next one, TSLA Tesla, and from an overall technical point of view, another very rough day, not because it was red, but because the price is broken down below that pink line, which, as I noted earlier, is the 200 period moving average. Actually, yesterday had a very, very nice bounce. So at that point, it was, hey, is this bounce the start of something bigger? But quickly got her answer with the gap down this morning, and then just basically straight down for the earlier part of the day. So overall, that level has completely failed, which now starts to put into question these levels down here. And it's been a while since the price has been down at this area of the chart. But next key area of support going to be right there at that gap close location at basically 183.75, which is essentially right where it bounced. So a classic example, gap area right there. It closed it right there and then get a bit of a bounce. So now the question just becomes, and a lot of people, myself included, is this thing rolling back over and going to get continuation through that gap close? Or is this bounce actually the start of something bigger where the price continues to go up? That's going to be a very interesting dynamic to watch. So again, as far as supports are concerned, we have that nailed down, 183.75. But if this bounce continues, then I'm going to zoom back in. Then the main area of resistance initially, at least in my opinion, going to be right here at the 189.50 mark. And then if 189.50 is broken, next key level going to be that pink line there, which you now know is the 200 period moving average valued at, let's just call it 191. Next one, TRKA, and this is first main reason for this one is this has the ability, it has the track record of moving and moving very quickly. You don't have to look that far, back, but right here, when this thing comes alive and gets moving, it can move in a hurry. And you can see today, nothing huge, but all of a sudden, from those lows to the lows this morning, to those lows right here. If you envision each of those as stair steps, you can see in the very near term, there are stair steps starting to progress in the upwards direction, which may not mean anything, but it does at least lead to the valid, justifiable question of, hey, maybe it does mean something. Maybe these higher lows are some sort of leading indicator of another surge of momentum to come. But once again, as just want to reiterate, there are no guarantees, so risk management matters. But as far as plausibility, are you being rational to think that maybe, just maybe, it does mean something? Yeah, absolutely. So the level that stands out to me moving forward is going to be right up here at the 26-cent mark. You can see that a couple of times price has gotten up around that area, give or take. So not quite right there, rejected. And then even today, not quite there, but generally speaking, right around 26 cents seems to be that, potential point where if it's broken, that could bring in that many more breakout players. And, from a self-fulfilling prophecy, angle of things, create that much more upside, pressure. But like I said, at least for me, in my opinion, the main interesting dynamic about this one is the track record here. It's proven that it's been able to move and move quickly. So can it do it again? Worth at least keeping an eye on. Next one here, BBBY, popular stock, has continued to get beat down. And the only reason I'm doing this one is I looked at it today and I thought, oh, geez, another down day. Geez, this one's never going up again. And I found that when I say something's never going to happen again, that's a good indicator that, you know what, maybe just maybe the bottom is in for at least some sort of dead cat bounce. Now, I say that somewhat jokingly, but in a serious sense too, because the way the human mind works, it seemed like the moment you reach the point where something is never going to happen, that's where it kind of tends to happen. And that's where BBBY feels like right now. It just drops and drops and drops, but in looking at it, you can see that the drop is getting less and less steep. So you have, that line right there. And then you also have a decent sized little pattern right here, which in all actuality has essentially kind of been broken right there. But like I said, the main dynamic here is that this thing just seems to only go down. And when things reach that point where they're only going one direction, worth at least keeping an eye on. And that's the idea of a watch list, to find unique, to find interesting situations, and not randomly rush out and buy anything, but to watch it and see what happens. Now, maybe this doesn't catch your attention at all. Maybe you don't find this interesting at all, and I 100% respect that, but I am trying to bring a variety to these watch lists. So if these situations do kind of catch your interest, then again, I'm not saying go out and randomly buy anything, but worth at least keeping an eye on, hence the term of a watch list. Next one here, VORB, and this is being done for a very simple, straightforward reasoning because it's an exciting question to ask, but you can see nothing going on, nothing going on, nothing going on, and then kaboom, volume came pouring in, and the price reacted very nicely with it, which brings about a very exciting question. Is this the start of something even bigger? Now think about that question. In order for me to ask that question and for it to make sense, well, something worthwhile needs to happen in the first place. If nothing ever happens, and it doesn't make sense for me to say, oh, wow, is this the start of something bigger? Because, well, nothing ever happened. But something did happen here. To be fair, maybe it's not. Maybe this is just some sort of one-day wonder, and this thing's going to collapse right back down to where it was. But two-sided coin, because, maybe it is the start of something bigger, and this thing's going to start ripping and roaring back to the upside dynamic. So again, going back to the whole philosophy, the idea of a watch list. Am I saying just randomly rush out and buy this? Of course not. Is it worth maybe keeping an eye on, especially if you like penny stocks? Absolutely. So yeah, is this the start of something bigger? Keep an eye on it. Next one here, TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ. So if you believe that the NASDAQ market as a whole is going to rise, this one will also rise. Big difference. It just allows you access at a lower price point, which makes it very popular. And I'll be honest, I did not think that the channel would be broken that quick. Now, which way? I didn't know. But I thought, all right, this thing's probably just going to chop around maybe for another day or two. But yeah, nope, there was no chopping. It came down to the bottom part of that channel that I talked about. The green line there broke through it, and down it went. So a rough day here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that level as it served its purpose for now. And then the first key update, when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So if there is any sort of continued bounce here, key level of resistance now going to be right up there at 27.35. And I say continued bounce because, yes, it gives some credit where credit's due. A nice little upwards channel here has formed, but you got to keep in mind the overall context, because what was happening before this upwards channel, well, this big downwards move there, which has now allowed me to draw a bear flag pattern. Now, just because something's bearish doesn't mean that the price is going to go down, just like something's bullish. So all those bull pennants I talked about does not mean that the price is for sure going to go up. So again, a bullish pattern doesn't guarantee anything. A bearish pattern doesn't guarantee anything. All I'm saying is I'd be a little skeptical of the bounce, because I don't think anybody would be shocked if this thing rolls back over, breaks through the bear flag, and then heads down to potentially that pink line of the 200 period moving average down there around 25.85. So keep that in mind. But to be fair, it is bouncing. So if this bounce is going to continue, like I said, then 27.35 will be that main level. As far as supports are concerned, key interesting level here is down there at the 26.50 mark. You can see that was a low from several days ago. And then right there, good example of the power of charts, served as another low. So if the price does break down through there, then at that point, I don't see why it wouldn't at minimum go down and test that pink line 200 period moving average. But yeah, overall, rough day today for the NASDAQ. So that wraps up the top 10 list. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get signed up for the free live online class. It'll be very soon, Thursday, April 6th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy these, then do two things for me. Hit that like button, leave a comment, say hi, tell me what you traded today, but those two things communicate to me that you're enjoying. As long as I know that you as viewers are enjoying, I'll continue to put in the required time and effort to get this content out to you. So hit that like button, leave a comment below, and get signed up for that free class. Thanks for watching.